Namibia just made headlines for a move that caught everyone off guard, and it came straight from the top. On her very first day in office, President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah made a bold decision that sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles. Over 500 Americans were ordered to leave the country. There were no negotiations, no prolonged press conferences. The message was firm, rules were broken, and there would be consequences. And no, this wasn't about military tension, global sanctions, or some simmering political feud. It came down to one thing: visa violations. That's right. For once, a leader stood by the rule of law and enforced it. And it wasn't just symbolic. It was a real signal of change. So, who is Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah? She's not just the new head of state. She's the first woman to ever lead Namibia, and one of the few African leaders today who treats national sovereignty like it truly matters. From the very start, she showed she wasn't interested in playing by the old script. There were no rehearsed ceremonies or shallow praises for the system that got her elected. Instead, she walked into her first cabinet meeting and dropped a political bombshell. The era of comfort and silence is over. No sugarcoating. No slow transitions. Just results, or resignation. For decades, the Namibian government had grown top-heavy and sluggish. Ministries filled with loyal insiders. Budgets quietly redirected toward pet projects. Red tape so thick, actual progress was impossible. A system where who you knew mattered more than what you delivered. Netumbo had seen enough. Within days, she reshaped the very structure of government. She reduced the number of ministries from 21 down to 14. Entire departments were dissolved or merged overnight. Job roles that once served as rewards for political favors, gone. There were no long memos or warning signs. This wasn't about cosmetics. It was a precise, calculated dismantling of a bloated political machine. She wasn't trimming excess. She was cutting out deep-rooted dysfunction. And it wasn't just about trimming budgets. It was about pulling away the veil that had long protected incompetence and allowed corruption to thrive. Netumbo didn't just assume power. She seized it with intent. And she's wasting no time turning government from a political playground into a tool that serves the people. So what now? This shift in leadership could spark more than just a Namibian transformation. It might light a fire across the continent. In many parts of Africa, bigger government is often seen as a sign of progress. More ministries, more departments, more titles, all seen as symbols of strength. But President Nandi-Ndaitwah sees it differently. To her, oversized cabinets mean more hiding places for failure, more corners for graft to thrive, more space for accountability to disappear. So she did what few ever have the guts to do. She streamlined power, not for appearance, but for real action. And the change didn't stop at reshuffling titles. By tearing down long-standing ministries, she shattered the quiet networks of influence that had held power behind the scenes for decades. This wasn't about furniture. It was about forcefully breaking ties with the old system of favors and loyalty swaps. And let's be clear, her message wasn't crafted for Western media or international development agencies. It was directed squarely at the Namibian people. People who've been promised progress over and over, while their daily realities stay the same. She made it clear, the government now serves the people, not the other way around. No more blaming protocols. No more hiding behind bureaucratic delays while communities suffer. If a promise is made, it better be fulfilled, or someone in office will be held responsible. And this time, it won't be the public who pays the price. But here's the real twist. This isn't just about cleaning house. Nandi-Ndaitwah is creating room for a better system. A government that's lean, agile, and efficient enough to turn public assets into actual development, without getting buried in red tape. She's not just evicting dead weight. She's preparing the ground for a government that moves like a startup, fast, focused, and connected to real life. Of course, not everyone is cheering. In the halls of old power, the whispers have started. Critics accuse her of concentrating too much authority. Others say she's discarding legacy and tradition too quickly. But perhaps that's the point. The old ways have had years to work, and they didn't. So maybe it's time to break tradition and finally get things done. Tradition means nothing if it protects dysfunction. And Netumbo isn't here to coddle it. If her first move was to demolish an outdated system, the next question is, what is she building in its place? What's her vision? What's the game plan? And how far is she willing to go to bring it to life? Because the truth is, no one takes a sledgehammer to the establishment unless they already have blueprints for something better. And she does. Just days after slashing through the government's bloat, she unveiled a sweeping 85 billion Namibian dollar investment strategy, equivalent to about $4.7 billion USD. And it wasn't a marketing gimmick. This was a full-scale economic reset designed to reboot the real economy, not to generate headlines, but to secure long-term survival. Her target? Create 250,000 new jobs by 2029. In a country where nearly half of young people are unemployed, that isn't just political talk, it's a lifeline. But here's what makes her plan different. It's not just about how much is being spent, it's about where the money is going. And more importantly, where it isn't. She's not pouring funds into political vanity projects or temporary quick fixes. She's betting on real economic engines: agriculture, infrastructure, and energy. She's redirecting capital into the sectors that can absorb young talent and scale quickly. And while critics question whether the goals are too ambitious, others see a rare opportunity, a leader who isn't afraid to disrupt the old playbook and place bold bets on her people. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah isn't trying to manage the system. She's overhauling it. Not with symbolic gestures, but with strategic moves and fearless leadership. Her first weeks in office are telling us something loud and clear. Namibia's political machine has been rebooted. And this time, it's wired to work for the people, no more throwing cash at flashy summits, hollow partnerships, or endless donor-driven workshops that sound good on paper but achieve nothing. That chapter is closed. Now she's turning her attention to where transformation actually happens: infrastructure, industry, and energy. And the first order of business? Build physical connections that matter. Not just polished highways for the wealthy, but real roads reaching remote areas long abandoned by the state. Regions where opportunity once felt like a distant dream. This isn't just a construction project, it's a national reset. A strategic push to weave the country back together. Sure, you can call it infrastructure. But what she's really building is unity, physical and economic reintegration. And she's not stopping there. Next on her agenda is the industrial sector, an area Namibia has long ignored. For years, the country has exported raw resources and bought back expensive finished goods. That economic trap? She's breaking it. Her administration is establishing industrial parks right at home. These won't be playgrounds for foreign conglomerates, but launchpads for Namibian-owned businesses to thrive. The plan is to manufacture, assemble, and package products locally, serving domestic markets and neighboring economies alike. It's a radical shift. While others preach about economic sovereignty, she's living it, ending the era of extraction and dependence. To Nandi-Ndaitwah, real independence begins when you produce what you consume. But perhaps her boldest move lies in energy. She isn't clinging to fossil fuel fantasies, she's betting on the future. And that future is renewable. Namibia is blessed with boundless sunshine and wide-open land. Under her leadership, those resources are being harnessed for power, literally. She's launching a clean energy revolution, led by solar and green hydrogen. This isn't just about lighting homes, it's about energizing industries and carving out Namibia's role in Africa's green future. And the world is paying attention. Europe and Asia aren't just eyeing Namibia's clean energy, they're realizing the rules have changed. No more looting resources and leaving scraps behind. Now if you want Namibia's energy, you build here, hire here, and invest in local growth. Some critics say she's pushing too hard, too fast. But her supporters believe she's finally igniting something real. Even her detractors can't deny it. There's a laser focus. Every project is accounted for. Every dollar is tracked. And a leaner cabinet means fewer bureaucratic bottlenecks. But here's the clincher. None of this works unless Namibia controls its own resources. Too often, African nations hand over their natural wealth to foreign middlemen and corporations. Not on her watch. She made a move that sent shockwaves through the oil world, putting the entire oil and gas sector under direct presidential oversight. No more freelance deals by rogue ministers. No more third-party consultants striking hush-hush agreements in fancy hotels. Now, every decision about Namibia's oil flows through her desk. It wasn't just a symbolic power grab, it was a precision strike. By centralizing control, she shut down decades of backroom profiteering. Every license, every export, every contract is now subject to her scrutiny. But this wasn't just about cleaning house. It was about sending a global message. Namibia isn't here to pump gas for others. It's here to lead. She backed it up with swift action, ordering a feasibility study for a domestic oil refinery. Built in Namibia. Run under Namibian law. No foreign takeover, no extraction conveyor belt, just national infrastructure keeping value at home. Her philosophy is clear: no oil leaves the earth unless it leaves wealth behind. And believe it or not, she's just getting started. While other nations are still grappling with petroleum regulations, Nandi-Ndaitwah is taking Namibia into a dual energy future. One that balances fossil fuels with clean, innovative alternatives. Her flagship? Green hydrogen. Namibia has already entered into early agreements with Germany and other European partners to develop this cutting-edge fuel. But there's a catch. Foreign players must meet her terms. Build infrastructure, create jobs, share ownership. Green hydrogen isn't just fuel. It's leverage. And she's ready to wield it. But energy isn't the only treasure under Namibian soil. The country holds some of the most critical minerals of the 21st century: lithium, rare earths, graphite. The building blocks of electric vehicles, smartphones, and advanced tech. In the past, those minerals were shipped out raw, leaving little behind. That era? Over. Her government is rewriting mining laws. Foreign companies must now process these materials locally, or not at all. No more raw exports. No more exploitative contracts hidden behind development buzzwords. If global players want Namibia's resources, they must build Namibian factories. Period. This is more than economic reform. It's a historic reversal of a century of colonial exploitation masked as investment. And yes, some European investors are nervous. But that's part of the plan. For Nandi-Ndaitwah, progress should feel uncomfortable, especially for those who've gotten rich off Africa's silence. Namibia is done apologizing for defending its resources. The days of being polite while exploited are over. Taking control of your nation's oil and minerals is a massive move. But it's only half the story. Because even if you own what's underground, there's another powerful question: who's allowed to walk on your land? That's where President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah made her boldest, most controversial move. One that didn't just shake up the system, it directly confronted global norms and challenged a superpower. Controlling your natural resources is one thing. But deciding who gets to set foot in your country? That's real power. Quiet, firm, and in her eyes, non-negotiable. Not long after she took command of Namibia's energy sector, she made a move no other African president had dared to make so directly. She ordered the deportation of more than 500 American citizens. No warnings. No quiet diplomatic sidesteps. No favors. They broke immigration rules. They were out. For years, many foreigners in Africa, whether businesspeople, missionaries, consultants, or diplomats, acted like visa laws didn't apply to them. Overstaying, working illegally, or misusing tourist visas was brushed off as no big deal. Not anymore. Nandi-Ndaitwah didn't just enforce the rules. She turned them into a statement of national sovereignty and fairness. Her logic was simple. If African travelers get arrested or kicked out of countries for the smallest visa mistake, why should foreigners in Africa be treated differently? From now on, no visa means no stay. And this wasn't a one-off aimed at Americans. Her government launched a full sweep, auditing foreign visa compliance across industries. From mining workers and NGO employees to temporary consultants tucked into state agencies, everyone had to play by the book. Fast. Suddenly, foreign embassies scrambled. Long-standing practices were questioned. There was confusion and quiet panic in elite circles, used to Namibia's relaxed enforcement. But for Nandi-Ndaitwah, this disruption was long overdue. She wasn't just enforcing law. She was demanding equal respect. And this push didn't stop at immigration. She reopened a deep wound from Namibia's colonial history, a wound that never fully healed. Between 1904 and 1908, German colonial forces carried out one of the earliest genocides in Africa, killing tens of thousands of Herero and Nama people. For decades, Germany avoided truly owning up to it. They issued vague acknowledgments. They sent limited aid. But there was no real apology. No direct reparations. No justice. Just carefully worded diplomacy. Nandi-Ndaitwah rejected that completely. She turned down deals offering development money in exchange for silence. Instead, her administration demanded a formal, public apology and real reparations for the descendants of the genocide's victims. This wasn't just about history, it was about justice. To her, African development can't move forward without facing the debts of colonial destruction. Countries that grew rich by destroying African lives and cultures must pay that debt. Not with empty gestures, but with clear commitments. While some called her stance unrealistic or confrontational, her response was firm. She's not asking for favors. She's demanding fairness. And she isn't treating these issues like political footnotes. She's putting them at the heart of Namibia's global position. What connects her crackdown on foreign visa violations with her demands for colonial accountability is one core principle: dignity. She's shaping a nation that doesn't just control its economy and land, it defines its own identity. It tells its own story. And it draws clear lines about what it will no longer tolerate. But don't mistake all these moves as isolated policies. They're all threads in a much larger plan. Because what Nandi-Ndaitwah is building is more than national reform. It's a working blueprint that could change the standard for African leadership. And that's where this story truly deepens. What she's doing in Namibia isn't just for Namibia. It was never meant to stop at the country's borders. Each decision, from cutting bloated ministries and enforcing visa laws, to reclaiming mineral wealth and demanding reparations, is part of a wider strategy. It's Pan-Africanism, revived and repurposed for the modern world. But she's not recycling old liberation slogans or giving emotional speeches at summits. She's showing what African unity and sovereignty can look like when it's practical, real, and working. What if an African nation could reject dependence and still succeed? What if it could process its own minerals, grow its own food, enforce its own laws, and still thrive? To prove it, she's turning Namibia into a real-time example. Take her agricultural overhaul. Rather than continue relying on imported food from old colonial partners, her government is launching large-scale, high-tech superfarms. Their goal? Slash food imports by 80% before the decade ends. This isn't some flashy announcement for press coverage. It's a clear, functional move toward genuine independence. These farms aren't traditional, either. They're modern agricultural hubs, mechanized, youth-driven, and career-focused. Here, farming isn't treated as an outdated survival tactic. It's a respected, forward-looking profession. It's how you rebuild a nation's self-reliance, one crop at a time. Nandi-Ndaitwah's message to the rest of Africa is simple: if we can do it, so can you. No handouts. Just hard work, smart planning, and national pride. Her vision doesn't stop at farming, either. She's also investing in sports infrastructure, youth centers, and cultural programs. Not as side projects, but as central pillars of national development. In a continent where governments often erode trust, she's doing the opposite, building spaces that inspire unity, pride, and hope. She's building belief in the nation itself. And her leadership style? It's a departure from the norm. She isn't surrounding herself with loyal insiders or family members. Her cabinet is a balanced mix of experts, youth leaders, and community voices. Her appointment of Lucia Witbooi as vice president wasn't just symbolic. It was a bold, strategic choice. She's proving that sharing power doesn't mean losing it. In fact, it can strengthen it. That may be her biggest breakthrough yet, reshaping leadership itself in a continent long caught between military regimes and donor-controlled democracies. She doesn't beg. She doesn't shout. She doesn't wait for permission from abroad. She acts. And every move she makes echoes far beyond Windhoek. Leaders in West Africa are watching. Policymakers in East Africa are paying close attention. Activists in the Sahel quote her words. Because deep down, everyone understands the power of her example. If one country can break the cycle, then the whole narrative changes. Her presidency stands out not just because she's Namibia's first female president, but because she's using that role to trigger a continental shift. She's not just leading. She's holding up a mirror to Africa and asking, "Are you ready to rise?" And while the world was still catching its breath from her domestic shakeups, she began repositioning Namibia globally, not with bluster, but with quiet, calculated diplomacy. Namibia, once known for its polite, passive posture in global forums, now speaks a new language. One of boldness, mutual respect, and unshakable self-worth. Her diplomats don't ask for help. They negotiate partnerships. Her government doesn't beg. It offers value. Whether it's green hydrogen, food production, or rare minerals, her message is sharp and simple: we have what you need. But it has to benefit our people too. So now the question is yours. Has Namibia already shown the way forward? Why haven't more nations followed this path? Drop your thoughts below. And if this story lit a fire in you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.